This webinar will focus on the in-context databases from Gale. As you can see by the list on your screen, we have 7 different in-context database resources. They all have a common format, so they're easy to use with patrons and with students. What the in-context databases have are portal pages or topic pages, bringing together topic overviews, reference material, magazines, primary source documents, and more. It brings the information to the front, so there's not a lot of tabs for folks to work through. To find information about these resources, you can go to the in-context pages at www.gale.cengage.com/incontext. And here you'll find information about the different products. You can explore various features, watch an overview of them, and there is a link here called Downloads. On the Downloads page, you'll find fact sheets, whether you're at a K-12 school, college, university, or public library, for each one of these, and we do not have the Canada in context. So a great place to just get little fact sheets to use with staff and with patrons. We're going to begin today with biography in context, and I'm going to start here at our Go Wild Databases page. On the database page, you'll see I have biography in context and a link, a search box, so I can search right here on this page, or I can go on in to the main page. If patrons are having problems connecting, there's a link here that says try this alternate link. So if the biography and context link does not work here, try that alternate link and mention that to your patrons. These work under a geolocation, so they should not need to have a username and password. So we're beginning here in biography and context. We'll take a little look at the page, and all of them will look the same except for global issues. You'll see at the top that we have a changing focus here. There are 5 different spotlight topics, and you'll notice they're rolling through. If you want to see more about them, there's a View More link, and you'll also notice there are arrows so I can go back to one that may have scrolled by. As I scroll down the page a little bit, here we'll see the various categories for these portal or topic pages. So under biography, you'll see that we have African Americans, children's writers, singers, etc. When you're working in an in-context page, you'll see that they always list 3 items under the header. There aren't just 3 items. Across from the topic header, you'll see a link to View More. This will open up all those available under that particular category. Now we can click on View More, or we can select one from this main page. For example, Rosa Parks. Once we bring up the in-context page, this portal page for Rosa Parks, you'll see that we have information about the topic or person. So here's information about Rosa Parks. If I want to see more information, just click on View More, and it will open up a background information page. So you can see that we have birth and death dates, her nationality, and occupation. And as I scroll down, there's background information about Rosa Parks. On the right-hand side at the top, you'll see that you can download, share, get citation information, email, or print this document. To go back to my main page about Rosa Parks, in small type here at the top left, it says topic. And when we get back to our main page, we can see other links about the topic or the person. So in addition to the background information, at the very top, you'll see links to content within this page. We have reference items, news items, magazines, academic journals, websites, videos, images, audio, and related topics. And if it's available, you'll often see primary source documents. For example, if you were to search for Eleanor Roosevelt, you would get primary source documents, including letters. We can click on those links to jump to that content, or we can scroll down. Notice that, for example, under reference, again, when working in an in-context resource, they list 3 items. To view all of them, watch for the View All across from the header. They also include a fact box here on the right, and you can click on more facts and just get some quick information about her. And as we scroll down, you'll see that there's a video available and images also there on the right-hand side. I'm going to come back up and go back to our main page for biography and context. In addition to these categories and these spotlight topics, you'll see that there's a tab called People. If I click on that, you'll see all of the people that they have in context or portal pages for. When we get to this big page, we can scroll through alphabetic. They now indicate if they've added new pages or if they've updated a page. So you can go through this alphabetic list, or on the left-hand side, you'll see in addition to those categories on the main page, there are even more category breakdowns here within the People tab. So everything from actors through Civil War, Hispanic Americans, poets, and writers. So you can use one of these subcategories here to get to some of these folks. So I'm going to click on inventors, for example, and you'll see that you get a smaller, narrower list. And just like we saw with Rosa Parks, if I clicked on one of those, it would go into a page about that person, giving me background information, magazines, news, audio, etc. In addition to using the categories on the home page and the People tab, at the top right, we also have a search box. And I can conduct a search by name. Notice that I can also search by occupation, nationality, birthplace, or death place just by clicking on those, and it will change my search. Once I bring up my search, you'll see that it gives me C indicators. So depending on how I've entered that search for Germanata, it says C Lady Gaga. When I click on that, it will now take me in to my biography in context page. So just another way to do your searches here. It also points out that we have up to current folks in biography in context. There's also an advanced search here right under the find box. This lets you search into particular, you can do a keyword search. Notice that you can do person name about or person name by or about, place names and other categories there. And if we scroll down, you can also search by document type. For example, we could search for a brief for the U.S. Supreme Court. If you want to search by specific document type or types, you just highlight them and click the Add button, and it moves it over here into your search box. We can also search by content level, including basic, intermediate, or advanced, or a Lexile reading range. I do not have to put a topic here in the find boxes. If I've searched for a document type, I can just click the search box. So it just lets you get to specific information when you don't have a lot of background. So I searched for a brief in the U.S. Supreme Court. What it's going to get me is information about that brief, but it gives me a name. So then if I wanted to know more about that person, I'm in biography and context, and that's why it's here. It's a primary source document for Louis Brandeis. Okay, so let's move on and look at a couple of our other resources here. So we started in biography and context. The next one I'm going to go to is U.S. history and context. Here you'll find, again, we have our spotlight topics at the top, and I can view more about it. And there are very pale, but there are arrows to move forward and back through these spotlight topics. We also have our categories here underneath that and 3 different portal pages or topics that they've pulled up. Again, to see all of them, you click on View All across from the category. What's different on U.S. History and Context and the rest of them that we'll look at, rather than saying People, our tab now says Topics. They've also added curriculum standards, and here you'll be able to pull Wyoming standards for social studies and then go to pertinent content within this resource. I can click on topics here, just like we did in the last one, and you'll see that we have our topics rather than our people. But you'll also notice here under U.S. History and Context, we also have people. So in addition to the biography in context, you'll also find people information in the various in context databases. So I would encourage you to look in more than one of the in context databases when you're looking at people. We have this huge list of topics, but again on the left hand side you'll see that we have various categories that they've narrowed these into. So we could go into government documents, for example, and look at the Pure Food and Drug Act, and just like we saw within our biography and context, we'll get the same sort of page. We'll get the background information here at the top, and then we'll have a linked table of contents to the right of that, so you can jump to context within this page. So there's our categories. We can jump right to primary source documents, for example. It lists 3 primary source documents. To view them all, you just click on the View All. And there's our primary source documents under the Pure Food and Drug Act. To the right of each one of the titles, it will give you a brief indication of what it is. So this is legislation, or we have a report. We have articles, work overview, and to the right of that are triangles, circles, or boxes indicating content level. If you hover your cursor over those, it will indicate whether it's a basic, intermediate, or advanced. On the left-hand side, we can limit our search. So this gives me our limiters for these primary source documents. And if I click on View More, it will open up more limiters. To go back to my topic, again, it's this little tiny print in the top left, and that will bring me back to my Pure Food and Drug Act topic. If I want to change topics, I can just click on the Topics tab. In this database, we also have a search box, which is really great. We can enter a search term here having to do with U.S. history and whether or not they've created a topic page or getting a results list. You can add that here at the top. So for example, I could just type in Nixon, pull up Richard M. Nixon, and click on search. If they have not created a topic or portal page, you'll see a list of results. Just like we saw on the topic page though, they list 3 items, but you'll notice it does not say View All. When you're on a results page, you just have to know to click on the header Reference For, and that will take me in to the rest of my reference, magazine, news items, etc. So that's a little tricky, and be sure and point that out to your patrons. Then rather than clicking on topic, I click on search results in the top right, and it will bring me back to my page, and I can scroll through, and there are images, primary sources, academic journals, etc. On the left hand side, I'll see those breakdowns, and that's where I can get my table of contents. It's also a great clue that you have more information than just the 3 items, that you've got 44 items or 47 items, etc. So kind of helpful there, since it does not say View All. The other great thing once you're in U.S. history is that you can search U.S. history in the search box, or I can go to searching world, or I can search both U.S. and world, which is really good when you're doing something, for example, like World War II. And now I can search both U.S. and world in context. And speaking of world history and context, let's take a look at that one by itself. And notice they're beginning to all look the same. Great for working with our patrons and students that we have a common format. Under world history, again, we have our topics, curriculum standards, we have our search box, and that radio button that we can change to search both world and US. It does have the scrolling spotlight topics, and then when I scroll down, there are some categories under my world history. If we're looking at the curriculum standards, it will indicate that you have curriculum aligned content here. We also have multimedia, as you can see on the right hand side. World history is going to include, as they say in the information about these resources, ancient times to today's headlines. I'm going to start with the video here. These in context databases include a lot of multimedia, which would be a great addition to your patrons looking for information. So I'm going to turn on the video here.
Thank you. There are many people in the world who really don't understand, or say they don't.
And what a great addition to folks doing their research. I'm going to come up to our search box and type in a topic. Notice that it has search assist. I started typing and it brought up a list. I'm going to click on Galileo Galilei, and because it's in bold, you'll know that you will have a portal page or an in-context page. So here's our page on Galileo, and just like we've seen in the other ones, we have our linked content here at the top right, our more information, and then we can scroll down into the content. What's nice about these in-context databases is they're going to be really helpful not only for patrons and students doing research, but also research for if you're working with the National History Day project. This year, the in-context databases will be really helpful. They'll also be great if you're working with book groups. For example, if your book club checked out the book club kit in Wild on Galileo's daughter, this would be a great resource to get background information to use for those book clubs. The great thing too in this world history, in addition, I'm going to go click on topics, to that multimedia is we're going to also have great images to add to it. So I'm going to click on Ancient Egypt and we'll just take a look at a couple of those images. They'll be on the right hand side along with any audio available for this topic. So there's our images there on the right. They just put a couple up, but if you want to view them all, just click on View All. We're going to take a look at another one. This time we're going to look at science in context. This is a great one for homework help. Information is aligned with the national and state science education standards. And your patrons will find real-world issues like obesity and your carbon footprint, as well as historical information. For example, our search on Galileo. I'm showing it in science in context because we looked at it world history in context, because what you're going to find is they aren't going to be the same. Because of the resources used in this particular database, you are going to find a different emphasis. So in our science in context on Galileo, we're going to have information, for example, out of world of physics, history of modern science and mathematics, but you are going to have some overlap. For example, the Science and Its Times resource is in our history. And I am going to open up, so this is Galileo in the science in context, and here's Galileo in the world history in context. So you're going to just see a different emphasis, but it points out that depending on your topic, you might want to look at more than one of the in-context databases. It also has our topics list, our home, standards, and a search box like we did with Galileo. But the other thing it has, in addition to being able to search for specific here at the top audio or news items, notice that I can search experiments or images. So if I put genetics and now it says search experiments, it will just narrow to that particular category, and I can bring up experiments from something they call Experiment Central. Okay, so moving on, just to take a peek at each one of these and the various search strategies that you have available to you when you're using these, we're going to move on to one now that will look a little different. It's called Global Issues in Context. This one will have a different look, as you can see. It includes global viewpoints, reference, country information, primary source documents, and statistics to help patrons find information about and understand international issues. There are 200 country pages and 280 issues pages. I'm going to start with a search. At the top, they have a basic search box. I'm going to search for carbon. And here's our results page for carbon. You'll see across the top, I can jump to the global viewpoints, news, magazines, academic journals, my primary source documents, statistics, etc. Or I can scroll down through those, global viewpoints, news. On the right-hand side, you'll also find images, videos, podcasts, websites, and in some cases, something called Get Involved. Since I searched carbon, you'll see that there's a carbon footprint calculator. And if I hover my cursor over it, it tells me what that is. I'm going to scroll back up here. Because I have so many items in my search results, you'll see on the left-hand side, I can jump to specific topics. For example, pollution control or soil carbon. I can also search within these results. So now I could add a search term in, for example, rainforest, and it's going to search within my search results for carbon. And now I've narrowed down my search, and again, I can click on news, academic journals, reference, whatever's available under my narrowed search now. I'm going to go back to the home of Global Issues in Context, and let's take a look at this one. You'll see that we can still browse issues and topics, and let me scroll down here. Here's our browse issues and topics down through the center. Just like we saw with our browse topics, I can click on one of those from this page, or we can go into the browse issue and topics page just to get kind of a cleaner page when you're searching. So I can browse one of those. So let's look at health and medicine, for example. And here's my list of topics. Notice that they include whether it's been updated or newly added, which is really great if you've been working with somebody on a topic. You can see that there is new information. To look at one of those pages, we just click on the topic, and we'll take a look at what it looks like in Global Issues. So there's our page on alternative medicine, and we can scroll through the different headers or different topics, or we can go back out. I can click on health and medicine and come back out to that search page, or I can go back to my browse issue and topics. Notice that in addition to browsing issues, we have a tab that says browse regions. So under global issues, of course, we can look at regions of the world. For example, if I click on South America, there's specific countries or there's topics. So you can begin to narrow that search. In addition to browsing topics, there's also a world map. You'll see a tab here at the top, or you'll see the world map here on our main page. I'm going to go ahead and go onto the tab that says World Map. Notice that on the left of the map there are Browse Topics. So I can select a topic here to the left of my map. I'm going to click on that alternative medicine and you'll see that it adds little pinpoints. If I want to scroll over to the United States, I just place my cursor on there, hold it, and move the cursor over. So let's click on one of the pins, Sweden for example. So again, we've done alternative medicine here on the left and click this point on the world map, and it brings up articles. I can just click on the specific articles or go to the tab that says More Articles. Notice too that it also tells me that I can view a portal page on alternative medicine, and we knew that was there, but if you didn't know there was a main portal page for that topic, it gives that link as well. So there's our map, here's our topics. Also on global issues and context is world news. So we can browse through world news from these various providers, or we can search world news. So we could put in Occupy Wall Street and search world news. And there's our list of results right up until yesterday. It gives me the news items here on the right, where it's coming from, and it also gives me my content level. So these boxes indicate that it's intermediate. On the left-hand side, I can search within these results. If I wanted to narrow it more, I could delete Occupy Wall Street there and add something else. For example, I could put in Portland, or I can narrow by these different types of news items on the left. If they're working on issues of the world, they might also want to take a look at opposing viewpoints in context. Here they can explore today's social issues from all perspectives. You'll see again that it looks the same. We've got our spotlight, we've got our categories with 3 highlighted topics. We have our issues, in this case, issues tab instead of people or topics, the maps, the standards, and our search box. Let's just take a look at some of the issues available here in opposing viewpoints. And you'll see that it's a very extensive list, from 9/11 attacks to mobile phones, oceans, pop culture, cyberbullying. A great way to use this with students is if they don't have an idea for a topic, here's a great way to help them find a current issue, current social issue, and start finding some research. To help narrow that, there are categories on the left-hand side that you can select. So we could look at society and culture and then scroll through that list. I can also go back by clicking on all, and it always takes me back to the big alphabetic list. I'm going to select the local food movement here so we can take a look at one of these pages in opposing viewpoints. We have our background information at the top, as we do on all of them. But what they've added on this one, as you'll see when our link table of contents comes up here on the right, is that they've added viewpoint articles. So because we're in an opposing viewpoints, we can get regular background information, our magazine articles, our academic journals, our news items, but they've added viewpoint articles. Again, they list just 3 when you're in an in-context database, but I'm going to click on View All 45. To the right of each one of my titles, you can see that these are viewpoint essays, and it also gives me my content level. On the left-hand side, I can limit my search by these various subjects, and always notice that there's a View More, and it opens up more categories that you can limit by, and it gives you the number. So if you are working with students on this and you do want to help them limit, you'll know that there's enough content there for them to limit and still get some research for. And I can look at just the featured viewpoint articles that they had, or the little tiny topic here at the top left, go back to my main page. The last one we're going to look at is one called Student Resources in Context. This is going to be a little more student focused with its subject matter to help students with topic exploration and with research. But as you can see, no matter which one they're using, you've got that common content layout, which is really helpful. They can just go to those categories on the main page or use that topic link tab. I'm going to click on the topic link tab and come into our topics. Again, you can see a very extensive list. What's also great on this, since this is a little more student focused, but also great if you're working with book groups, is there is a literature category here. So I'm going to click on literature so you can see that I not only have authors like Maya Angelou and Jane Austen, but I also have books listed like Catch-22, Catcher in the Rye. Let's look at one of these. I'm going to select Lord of the Flies. This is going to be a great resource whether you've got a book club or a student. But it's also going to be a source that you want to make sure that your junior high and high school teachers know about, because as you can see now when we scroll into this page, we have overview, themes, historical context. So teachers are going to want to know about this in case students are liberally using this information. I'm going to click on Themes and Construction of Lord of the Flies, just so you can see what I mean about the detail of content. So here are our themes: good and evil, appearances and reality, reason and emotion, and more. Great content, but heads up for our teachers. I can go back to my main topic of Lord of the Flies, just like we did on any of our portal pages, and there's our page. So we'll see that we have featured content, the addition of critical essays here under our literature, as well as our magazines and news. I can go back to my topic page and select a different topic, or again, I've got a search box. I just want to point out here again, I'm going to type in tsunami. Remember that they have, when we're using the search box, they do have search assist. When the category is in bold, like tsunamis is here, that means there is a portal or topic page. So it's set up like this. If I type a search in, so for example, Gandhi, notice that I don't have anything in bold. So I'm going to launch my search. If it's not in bold, that means it's not one of the portal pages, and I have just a search results page that looks like this. So just a heads up when working with your students or patrons. So that's a quick overview of our in-context resources that we have available to us. There are 7 of them. All look the same except a little different in our global issues in context. Those are available here, alphabetic, off of our Go Wild databases page. And don't forget that we have a remote user login so that folks can access them from home. However, with these Gale resources, they should not need to use that. Those should have those geolocation and they should be able to go straight in. This webinar will be available on the webinar archive here on the State Library's homepage. There are also some Gale resources in our Discover It in the shorter video program here at the top of that page. And I'll open it now for questions.